We're here in the St. Philip's Catholic Church Cemetery in Richmond, and at the headstone of Colonel George Thew Burke, the superintendent of the military settlement, who went on to become a very prominent person in early Carleton County history. The headstone reads as follows: "Sacred to the memory of George Thew Burke, Captain 99th 100th Regiment, Major of Brigade, Colonel Carleton Militia, Registrar County of Carleton. Born in Tipperary, Ireland, died Bytown 2nd of February 1854, aged 78 years." And now here to tell you the whole story about Colonel Burke is researcher and historian Kurt Johnson.
George Burke figures prominently in the history of Richmond. George Burke was a British officer and an Irish gentleman, a career officer who came to Canada after helping with the recruitment of Irish potato farmers and weavers who were out of work, and they joined the army and formed the 100th Regiment of Foot. Soon, the War of 1812 tested the mettle of these young Irish soldiers, and George Burke was in the forefront of that as captain in charge of the Grenadiers, the tough soldiers of the British Army, the ones who were at the front of the battles. He was quickly recognized as having bravery and leadership, and he soon became what is known as a major of brigade. So he was in charge of several regiments and fought in several battles. He was at the Battle of Chateauguay, 1814. It was an important battle when the American Army was invading Canada. We won that battle, and George received a medal for that campaign. So after the War of 1812 ended, there still was the British job to defeat Napoleon. George was sent over to Waterloo to serve with the Duke of Wellington on his staff, and as we all know, Napoleon met us at Waterloo, and that was the end of the wars. The regiment was disbanded, and he and his fellow soldiers had to decide, should they stay here, should they start a new life. The British Army offered free land to the soldiers, and that was the beginning of Richmond.
This Irish regiment was in fact told that they would get free land. If you were a private, you'd get 100 acres, and they were offered land upriver, up in the middle of what is, in those days, wilderness. We're standing on a peninsula that juts out from the south shore of the Ottawa River. Victoria Island is splitting the fast-moving Ottawa River. The Chaudière Falls is back that way. The boats would have, bearing the soldier settlers and their families, would have come upriver from Montreal, and certainly would have sought a natural harbor, which to our left they would have found. And that's why where we're standing is called Richmond Landing.
All right now, lads, so we've landed here. Now we've all agreed the name Richmond's fine. So we're gonna call this Richmond Landing, and our land grant's down here. Well, that means this is gonna be the town of Richmond then. Now that leaves us 20 miles between us and there. And in case you hadn't noticed, we got a lot of bush and not a lot of road. But sure as my name's William Vaughan, we can cut this road and get some of our houses done before winter sets in. So we're leaving the wives here at the camp, and us men, we're going off to get to work. So stack arms and let's go. Aye. Aye.
The soldiers, the husbands, took their axes and chopped down trees in the dense forest and create a road, what is now called the Old Richmond Road in modern city of Ottawa. And the soldiers went ahead, cut the road, cut the clearings for the town site, and erected shanties and log cabins, very roughly hewed from the woods. This is a map of the Rideau Trail, which is a walking trail that would take you from Ottawa. Richmond would have been about here as I point, and this crook of the trail. The soldiers and their wives and their children would have got on wagons and walked the 20 miles or 30 kilometers to their town site, which was rough log cabins and shanties and some tents where they spent their first winter and Christmas in 1818. It would have been a different life. It would have been exciting for these men because they knew that they were getting 100 acres of free land and they would be able to start a new life. But it was full of dangers as well. There was the cold winters. There was the need to farm and get your land working so that you would grow crops and feed your family and yourself. It was very risky, but they were brave, courageous soldiers, but they were also that as settlers in the new Canada.
Normally we associate settlement through Richmond as dealing with Goulburn Township, where many of the disbanded soldiers and civilian settlers are located. But Colonel Burke also had a mandate to locate settlers, both civilian and ex-military, in Beckwith Township, just to the west of Goulburn. And so over the course of the years of the military settlement, quite a few families settled in Beckwith Township coming through Richmond. Families like the Kidd family, who are still present in the township today, can trace their roots to ancestors who came through Richmond and settled in Beckwith. So there is a strong connection between Richmond and its 200-year history and Beckwith and its 200-year history.